Before today's episode, I wish to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, and recognise their continued connection to the beautiful land and sea. I'd also like to pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging, and I extend this acknowledgement to the traditional owners of the land my listeners are on. Welcome to Ritual the Podcast, your cottage in the woods. A sacred space for the witches, the healers, the magical folk to meet and speak of wisdom, witchery, and old world magic, where people come to learn, to hear stories, to share secrets, and to be free to be their true selves. Welcome to Ritual. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Ritual. Today is a very exciting day because I wanted to say that one of my favorite things about having a podcast is not only do I get to talk to all these different amazing people, but I think the idea of a podcast in itself is amazing because, especially as a witch, you don't often come into contact with other witches, especially here in Australia. It is getting more popular in a way, but we're still very like a small little gang. So I think the world of podcasting is amazing because you get to listen to and almost like have a conversation with other witches as you go for a walk, as you go to work, wherever you are, as you clean your house, you get to kind of involve this witchiness into your day. And there is one in particular that I love to have with me when I am driving in the car and I need to just like have that like feel good witchy buzz. And that is the Comfy Cozy Witch podcast. And I am so excited because I have with me the comfiest, coziest witch there is, Jennie Blonde. She is an author. But like I said, she is this amazing creator of one of my most favorite podcasts in the world. And I'm so grateful that she is with me today. Hello, Jennie.
Hi, that was such a lovely little introduction.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm happy to be with you today. I know it's taken us a little while with our schedules to make this happen, but I'm happy that it's
We're
finally
here now.
We're here. It's 6 a.m. in the States and 8 in the evening
I
where
know.
you are.
Isn't that so weird? So whereabouts are you in America?
Pennsylvania.
Oh, I've heard that Pennsylvania is so beautiful.
It is. You know, I've never lived anywhere else. I've lived my entire life in Pennsylvania. So born, raised, went to college. After college, got a job in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I've never lived anywhere else, but I have lived all over the state. So
it's near New York, isn't it?
Yep, it's just south of New York, and we're an hour and a half from the city, New York City.
Oh, cool.
So, door to door. I mean, door to, like, I can leave our house and be in downtown Manhattan, Times Square, in an hour and a half,
Stop
which is
it.
awesome.
I think like if I did that here, I literally end up like nowhere interesting at all. So the fact that you can do that is pretty. Do you go to New York a lot?
You know, not as much as we should. We need to take more advantage of it.
It's because it's there.
Yeah, we were there twice in the past year.
Yeah.
That's pretty good because we're busy, you know.
Yeah, no.
You know, we don't always have time to just drop things. But we have talked about just making some more day trips because when we go, we'll spend the night, taking a show, you know, go out.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. So we talked about just taking our son.
Yeah.
Go for a day trip, catch a matinee show, and have dinner, come home.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously doable an hour and a half away. We can do that.
I know. And that part of the world, like all the states surrounding that are so beautiful. Like I always heard that it's like you have the 4 seasons there. Like it's always like yeah.
You do. And we clearly see every season, which makes it easier to celebrate the turn of the wheel.
Totally.
You know, here in Pennsylvania than other states. I mean, you think, you know, down south, it's warm all year long, and you don't see the differentiation between the seasons. But here we have the winter. We have the snow and the ice in the
Yes.
winter, and
Oh,
then
I
we have
love
the
that.
spring, and right now everything's green and blooming and the flowers are out, and we have a summer where it's 90 degrees, and then we have the fall.
I love
Unfortunately,
it.
fall is tends to be the shortest season.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
that's the
even
most
though
beautiful as well.
it's the most beautiful, but I feel like every year it gets shorter and shorter.
I
It just
think
kind of
so
goes,
too.
yeah, and I don't know if it's the, well, I would assume it's the global warming, it's
Probably.
everything. Yeah, I'm sure that's what it
We've
is.
stuffed it. We've really stuffed it.
Oh, I know. And but that makes me sad because I love fall.
I know.
Autumn equinox is my favorite,
I
and
know.
I just love being cozy. But I guess you cozy in fall. You're
We just
like
had it. We just had
you had
Mabim,
it.
yeah, not that long ago. And so we are in autumn at the moment, but we're the same. Like our summer basically felt like maybe 2 weeks. It was so quick and so rainy. And then it was autumn, but now already it's like the winter vibes are here already. And then winter, I feel like it goes for like 9 months of the year.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, we're the same, but we are in that cozy like autumn bubble at the moment, which is really nice.
I mean, that's a nice bubble, even leading into the winter,
Hmm.
going inward, and you just need that
Totally.
time to rejuvenate and
I
just
agree.
be with yourself. And I mean, we
Yeah.
talked earlier before you hit record. You have a number of children, and it's time for them to slow down a little
I
bit too.
know. I will let them know that now is time for
Yeah.
you to slow down. Slow down.
And it's the opposite because we just celebrated belting, and
Yeah, you did. My
yeah,
favorite.
so which I know it's so much fun. Oh, but my festival was canceled
I
because
saw that.
I was so bummed. I go every year, and they had taken years off because of COVID, and I was
Oh
really excited
no.
last year. It was just such a beautiful, they call it their May Day festival, of course.
Hmm.
But now we're moving towards summer, and next week my son is off school for the summer. I think next week is his last week.
Oh,
So
really?
things are gearing up here. Like the energy, like everything is happening.
Totally. Isn't
We're
that
out. I
so
mean,
funny how opposite it is?
it's crazy.
You
And I
forget.
forget about yes, I forget about that sometimes.
Yeah, I'm like that
And
as well.
it's so funny. I'm looking at us right now.
Yeah, we're
Like
polar
looking at our
opposites.
split screen. I'm looking at our split screen, and I don't know if I know you say you put this on YouTube,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So do people see the split screen?
Yeah.
But you are very much like right now, your vibe is like like fall,
Yeah.
winter. You have like the darker wood in the
Yeah.
background.
You're like
And
bright.
then bright white,
Even
like
with what we're wearing.
spring. That's what I mean, like spring. Spring is coming. We didn't plan this.
That's so funny. I didn't even think about that.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so let's begin with your morning. Now, obviously, today your morning ritual is talking to me, but do you have a morning ritual? And that could be like a magical one, a mundane, or kind of a mixture of the two. But is there something that you like to do each day?
Yeah, I do. And as you know, I mix magic in with the mundane constantly.
You have to.
That's a huge part of my practice
Hmm.
because, and you're the same. When you have a busy life, you have to. It's hard sometimes to have pockets of time to
Yeah.
sit down and say, I'm going to, touch my practice right now.
Hmm.
But I always, always find time to come in this room that I'm in
Hmm.
right now. My altar's in the corner. Sit in front of my altar, take a couple deep breaths. Usually I take three. I have a couple little stretches that I do that is part because I'm finding as I'm getting older, it's harder.
Yeah.
It's harder to like stretch and
Yeah.
turn, which I
That
never
feels
thought.
weirder than it usually does.
Yeah. It's so funny because yesterday, I went to Barnes and Noble, and the woman that was checking out my books, she made a comment because she was on the floor like stacking books, and she stood up and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm really feeling this right now."
Yeah.
And I said, "I just started feeling those like
Yeah.
little
It's so funny. Like when I wake up in the morning, I like stand up. I'm like, oh, my feet feel weird. I'm like, is that a thing? Is that supposed to happen?
Yeah, I think it's a thing. It's a thing as we get older.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry. See, I do go off on a
That's
tangent, and
fine.
you know
So do I.
that. Okay. So I sit in front of my altar. I have
Mhm.
my coffee. So at least, I mean, I have that this morning in
That
in
mug's
a
very autumn.
autumnal
There you
mug. Yeah,
go.
I have boxes too, but that one's in the dishwasher.
Oh, cute.
Um, and so I have my coffee. I always stir in chocolate, cinnamon, and honey. And I always think about what I want for the day. Like that
Hmm.
has become ritual over the years.
Hmm.
Um, in and of itself. And I know a lot of people, I think a lot of people do that because it's a simple way to touch your practice, to touch
Yeah.
your magic.
And delicious.
Yep, and delicious. Delicious. And then I come into here, I turn on, I have a little lamp because usually it's still a little dark outside. I have a
Hmm.
little lamp, it's like a tree of light that I turn on. I open my altar because it's a pull down
Cool.
desk. I can show it to you if you want to see. I'll
Yeah.
just stand there. Just don't mind my mess. It's over there in the oh, wait,
Ah,
which way is it? It's over
I think it's on the other way. Yeah, there.
back to it. Here we go. Right
Yes.
here.
That's so
Oh,
cool.
yeah, isn't it cool? It's an old deck. Don't mind my mess. Like it is
Oh, no,
it's
it's
so
totally fine.
okay. So I go over, I that pulls down. I have whatever deck I'm currently working with, and I have
Hmm.
my magical journal in there, so my book of shadows. And I always start then after I've like done a couple deep breaths,
Hmm.
get that set up again. Then I'll journal a little bit about what happened, yeah, like the day before,
Yeah.
when it comes to like my practice, anything that I've noticed, any intentions like that are coming to fruition.
Hmm.
And then I always write down the moon phase, three things I'm grateful for. I mean,
Hmm.
I have like these bullet points every day.
Yeah.
And then a card of the day, I'll pull my card of the day. Sometimes I'll pull two or three, but mostly I'll just pull one and then journal about that and then sit in quiet meditation if I have time, if my
Hmm.
son doesn't get up and come yelling for mommy or the dogs come in and bother me, you
Hmm.
know how it is. So that is my morning ritual.
It sounds very similar to mine, actually.
Really?
Like
And
to
it
the
can go
dot point of the journaling as well, like literally the
no
same
kidding.
thing. Mm,
Oh my gosh. And even like, and that can be 3 minutes or that can be a half an hour.
yeah.
It just depends on interruptions or my meditation,
Yeah.
really. And then some mornings where I know I have time, I'll even do a guided meditation. I'll turn
Nice.
on like my Insight Timer app and go
Love
back
that
to
app
like my
so much.
oh my gosh. I can't tell you how many people I swear they need a commission from me.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I need a commission from Insight Timer because so many people I talk about it on my podcast and like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I downloaded this. It's so good. But I've been using it for a decade
Yeah.
and
It's the
it's
best.
my it is the best. They have wonderful guided meditations. Some of my evening meditations are gone like over the years.
Uh, damn.
I know creators will take their stuff off or
Hmm.
I don't know if they have to renew a subscription. They just don't do to have their meditations on the app. But
Hmm.
I've lost a couple of my favorite meditations, but overall it's great, especially for guided
Yeah.
meditations.
I agree. What do you ever do the one where it's like just the noise?
Yes,
What
I
noise
do.
do you use?
Well, or I'll do the silent. I like the rain,
Yeah. Me
like
too.
the
And it's got
forest.
that like doom doom.
Yes, I love that. And then and for most of that though, because you can program it.
Yeah.
A lot of it will be that, and then I'll make it quiet for a little bit. But I've
Yeah.
noticed that final gong that comes in,
Yeah.
I had to take out because it was like
Yeah.
dark.
Yeah. You're just like,
Dark. I was in like a really deep
Yeah,
meditation, and then it wasn't as gentle. It isn't as
I
gentle as I want.
agree. It's like they need someone to come and like tap you on the shoulder and be like, "You're done now," rather than like bang.
Yes, I agree. If only they could figure that out, to have somebody reach through
I'll
the
write them a
door.
letter.
Oh my God.
What deck are you working with at the moment?
Right now, oh gosh. It's so funny. I have the one here. Um, Lucy Cavendish just came out with this new
Oh, I saw
book
that.
with Lady Victoria, Lady Tour. So
Love
she
her so much. I love
love
both of
her.
them. I
Well,
want
I'll show
Lucy
you.
Cavendish to adopt me.
I love her. I love her. I have
Mm,
so many of her books.
yeah.
Like her just her fairy book,
The
the
Fey
purple.
Magic.
Yeah,
That's
that
my
one.
favorite book.
Me too. I love that book, and I've had it for years and
Yeah.
years, and I always come back to
Me
it because
too.
I love how she approaches it. Like, your interaction with the Fae might not be mine and someone else's, and that's completely
Yeah.
okay. And that's the way I feel about working with the Fae in
Yep.
my practice in general. Like, and everybody else's
Totally.
practice. I'm not here to judge or tell you how to practice. Just do what comes natural to you
As
and
it
have
should
it
be.
evolve organically. Yeah. Okay, so here is just look at some of these.
Oh, it's so magical.
So
Such a
magical.
beautiful deck.
So this is the newest deck. I'm only going to go through a couple so you can see.
When you
Um,
choose your decks as well, do you like pick them kind of to do with where we are seasonally, or do you just kind of go by like intuition or whatever you're vibing?
it's a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
Because well, they came out with the Rockpool published, I think it was Rockpool, came out with Seasons of the Witch
Yes,
Oracle
love.
decks, and they're coming out with the Mabon deck, which is just I
I've got
can't wait.
my Samhain one here.
Yes. And I tend to use them so seasonally, even though
Yeah,
I know you can use them whenever. I use those
I'm like,
seasonally.
no, it has to be at that time.
It has to be. And but I will say I do tend to get out my fairy decks May and beyond,
Yeah.
because for me, and well, it's opposite for you, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
because you're in Samhain season right now.
Yep.
But May and beyond, that's when I work with the Fae and
Mm-hmm.
I find more of a connection. So I've been getting out my fairy decks. Actually, Oracle of the Fairies by Karen Kay. I don't
Love
know if you
that
know.
one. Yeah, I've got that one.
That's what I pulled from yesterday.
Cool.
Excuse me. And then I pulled from that one for my Patreon because I do a card pull on Mondays.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get out my fairy deck. And so they're all in this cabinet over here. I'm terrible at showing. So in there are all
Nice.
those two. That's all my fairy stuff.
I love it.
Um,
I do want to get back to your fairy magic as well because I have a
yeah.
question about that.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but I wanted to ask because if you do listen to Jenny's podcast, which you should, once you finish listening to this, you have to go and listen to hers. But I want to know what is making you feel comfy, cozy, and witchy right now.
How did I know that you were gonna ask?
I have no idea.
Well, right now, and this is exciting. I'm opening up a brick and mortar shop.
Yeah,
Yes.
so exciting.
I'm so right now, a lot of my energy is going toward
Yeah.
getting that ready. And although some people might not think it's particularly comfy and cozy, like opening
It's
a
your
business,
baby.
it's my baby, and it is the Comfy Cozy Apothecary.
Oh,
And yes, just yesterday, another article came out about it because reporters have been reaching out, which I posted one time about it in like a
cool.
local book group, and reporters have been reaching out. And an article came out yesterday, and it said, the owner of this shop wants you to leave feeling comfy, cozy, and magical. And I was like,
Oh, yay.
they got what I want to do. And so right now, just curating items and finding retailers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting in shipments. I'm already getting inventory in.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting books in, and I like every time a book comes in, I'm just like,
One for
oh my
me, one for
God.
you.
I got on Sunday morning, just 2 days ago, I found a really amazing crystal wholesaler.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I got to go there and hand pick out every single crystal that'll be in my shop. And,
Oh.
just being able to like feel the energy and touch like that
Mm-hmm.
was an amazing, just magical experience. And I can't wait to do it again. But everything in preparation of my shop right now is making me feel comfy, cozy, and witchy.
Yeah. Do you have a name?
It's the Comfy Cozy
Oh,
Apothecary.
so perfect.
That's actually, yeah, that's the name of it. So I contemplated changing the name,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, no, this is me. Like this is
Totally.
me.
That's who
Comfy
you
Cozy
are.
Apothecary. This is me. I've had my apothecary on Etsy, for a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll still offer items in my Etsy shop that are different than the brick and mortar store, because
Yeah.
the brick and mortar, I'm bringing in other people's products,
Mm-hmm.
but items that people can't find around here. I don't
So
want another
cool.
store that looks like a Target, or
No.
I want handmade candles by like magical creators, and
Yes.
I want jewelry that you can't walk into a store and find anywhere else. So anyway, that it's been so amazing, very busy.
I can totally imagine.
So, yeah, but all good stuff. And it all happened, um it just happened out of nowhere. And I had been wanting to do this. I mean, I've
Mm-hmm.
talked about it before on my podcast. I've talked about it with a lot of people. Like, a goal is to open a shop
Yeah.
and a brick and mortar store, ideally in my town. So I'm really close and I can still come home and take care of the dogs and get
Mm-hmm.
my son to school, but also use it as a writing space away from distractions,
Yeah.
as I still have book deadlines and, my writing. So I'm going to be writing from that space 3 days a week. And
Mm-hmm.
then I'll open the retail space for limited hours, like 5 or 6 hours, 4 days a week.
Cool.
So, yeah, so I can focus on my writing, but also have my apothecary.
You've got the
And
best of both worlds.
yes, and it was so bizarre. The posting came up on Facebook Marketplace, of all places.
Really?
Yeah, because the person in the building, they ended up buying a new property, and
Mm-hmm.
so they had to end their lease early. And so the
Mm.
owner of the building was like, "Well, then you're in charge. It's still under your lease, so you need to find somebody to take over your lease,
Yeah.
essentially." And so she had posted, "Hey, we have this coming available June 1st, downtown on Main Street. Like, it is a half a block from the square, from the circle, like the main part of the town. Great like big bay windows,
Oh,
700 square feet, like just everything." I saw it and I said, this is it.
this
This
is
has
it.
to be, this is my apothecary.
Mm-hmm.
The one side, because it's a corner, because all the buildings are connected in a
Yeah,
downtown.
you want a corner.
It's a corner, so it is all brick on the side and all
Oh,
stone,
yeah.
all stone in the front. The
Stop
whole
it.
front is stone. And so I messaged her right away. I said, "I want to come look at this property."
Yeah.
So I was able to, long story short, I was scheduled to go look at it Friday. She had a cancellation on Tuesday, squeezed me in, and 50 other people were interested. 50. And she chose me to like put my name to the owner, the
Yeah.
property manager. And then he essentially selected me to have the space.
That's so exciting.
I'm very excited. I'm very
Ah,
excited.
cool. And you know what? Because you have your podcast as well, there'll be so many people that are like, I'm going there straight away.
I've had a lot of people like already message me, road trip,
Yeah. That's
grab
so
your
cool.
jump on a plane. Come on
I was
over.
going to say next time, because we want to go to New York in the next couple of years. So we're coming. We will be there
Oh,
for sure.
yay. Let me know.
Hey everyone, I'm just going to pause today's episode for a moment. I hope you're enjoying it. It sounds super interesting. If you're enjoying this podcast and you're thinking, hey, how could I support this show? Then the best way to do that is to jump over to Patreon and become one of my patrons, where you'll get access to additional content, videos, bonus episodes of Ritual with Amy Harvey, that is me, learning tools to help you on your witchy path, and special discounts to my online store, rosethorncottage.com. Take it away, voiceover guy.
That's right, simply head to patreon.com/Rosethorn Cottage to get all the goodies and support your favourite podcast in the entire world, Ritual with Amy Harvey. Now, back to the show.
This is a
But
dog-friendly show, so if they need to come in, I will be very happy to see them.
oh, good. Well, and my biggest dog, who's my youngest, turned 1 yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday.
So we had all sorts of birthdays for our puppies this
You have a
week.
golden retriever, don't you?
Yeah.
Me too. I've got 2 of them.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so great. You have to send me pictures.
Oh,
After.
100%. Norman, who's my oldest one, he's like my golden child. Like even the kids will go, you love him more than us. And I'm like, yes, I do.
And you admit it.
I do.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. River's our golden. She's a good girl.
I have to ask, what was
Mm-hmm.
your journey like into witchcraft? So was this something that, have you always been like on that witchy path, or did it come to you at a certain point in your life? Like how did it all unfold?
I've definitely always been on the witchy path, even when I was a young kid. And looking back as a teenager, as an adult, like I was able to connect some dots and some things that I think
100%.
had pulled me in. Like, so, and I have an episode, you probably listened to my episode about this, my Ouija board as a kid and my ancestors trying to contact me. My Aunt Flo and her husband Rush, which I didn't realize until literally decades later that was them trying to come through. But I always had a fascination with not only the occult, but just magic in general. I always had a firm belief in magic and seeing magic in everything. And then I guess it was when I was like, 13 years old, 14, and I saw Silver Raven wolves to buy a silver broomstick. And I was leaping through it like, oh, I can actually be a witch. Like, this is not just something that you read about or see about. Like this, wow, like this is a real thing. And from then I was like, okay, I was hooked. After that. And then, you go through stages of your life where you practice, you don't. I mean, all through college, my early years of teaching, I did not touch my practice much at all. And it wasn't until about a decade ago where I feel like I really came back to it even more so than ever before. And took it, I'd hate to say more seriously, but I guess lack of a better term, that
really
makes sense. Started really diving in. Even though I had practiced on and off over the years, I feel like 10 years ago was when things just really clicked for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. And you know what? I think it's interesting because so many people say that, where it kind of like came and then it went away. And I think those like early years, like between 18, 25-ish, you have no idea who you are, and who you are at the time changes like every week. And so it makes sense that a spiritual practice wouldn't be big on your list, because you're kind of going like, who the hell am I? I don't even know what I want. I'm going to do whatever I want and float around. And then when you get later on, and especially when you become a mom, or you kind of like have more of an idea of where you are in life, you go, okay, something's missing. I think this is what it is. And then it all flows from there. But if you don't know who you are first, like you can't have that practice, I don't think.
Yep. I think you're right. And it's funny you say, you know, for having a kid for you, like for me, like look at the timing. About a decade ago, my son is 9, you
There you
know,
go.
and that's when things really, really came together. And now just seeing magic through his eyes, I'm sure you're the same, like seeing magic through your kid's eyes, that enhances your practice and makes
Yeah.
you a better witch because they're seeing things that we forget about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. We have like too much chatter in our minds, and
Yeah.
kids just like they fully believe, and they're just like
Mhm.
so into it, so connected to a point like where you almost like feel sad that you can't have that same connection because you're too much of an adult, where you're like, I
Yep.
used to be able to just go, yes, it's 100%, this is how it is. And now we're like, I'm like 85% there, but I'm also kind of overthinking it a little
Yes.
bit.
When we moved here, I guess it'll be almost 4 years now, which is crazy. My son, when we were hiking, talked about seeing the fairies before
Mm.
even I did. Like, you know, and I was like, "Oh, this is so wonderful." And he saw them in our yard, he saw them in our hike,
Oh,
and he's like he still remembers, like he knows exactly what he saw.
yeah.
And so it's so magical.
I think it's funny as well because, like, I feel like when you grow up and you do see these things, you hear so many stories of like parents going, like, no, that's not real. And that's when it like that doubt starts to sink in.
Yes.
Where
Yeah.
with my kids, and I think pretty much anyone who's like a witch or along that spiritual path, they're like, yeah, it is. And we're just like overly enthusiastic about it because, like, yay.
You're so right. Yes, you are so right. We don't we don't try to explain it away to a camera
No,
flash or whatever. Like, no, that
it
it is
is
100%. It is.
totally. Do you involve your son in your magical practice at all?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, not as much as he is getting older. He doesn't have an interest like he did when he was younger.
Yeah.
And that happens, but I leave it
Yeah.
open to him. Like if you I still always ask him, "Do you want to pull a card?" He has his
Mm-hmm.
decks in there, you know. I
Oh,
don't know when the
cute.
last time he touched them, but it was part of his ritual, morning ritual as well. So when
Mm-hmm.
I homeschooled him, part of his morning, you know, I would do my morning ritual. We would start the school day, and part of his day was pulling his card of the day and reflecting on it. And so little things I'll introduce him to little things and
Mm-hmm.
engage his interest.
Yeah.
But when it comes to celebrating the Sabbats, like we have family rituals that we will do. Um,
Cool.
yeah, so especially at Yule, at Beltane, we do the wish trees. Like we write our wishes on
Mm-hmm.
ribbons and hang them from a tree in my sacred space. So in Samhain, so
Mm-hmm.
there are things throughout the year, you know, as we celebrate the turning of the wheel that he celebrates as well. Um, and you know, he knows the names of the Sabbats, of course, where other kids they have their other holidays. We get
Mm-hmm.
excited about the
We get
equinoxes.
more.
We get a lot more. 8 ones, you know.
I think that's so
Um,
cool about like the seasonal like part of the year is such a good way to incorporate children. Like people always ask me like, how do I involve the kids? What should I do? And I'm like sticking to the wheel of the year is perfect because it's not overwhelming. You don't have to get too deep about the meaning. Like you can kind of
yeah,
like gauge where they're at, but you get to cook yummy food or spend time outside. and just like look at nature that is it's already done its thing for you. And I think it just like makes you not only more mindful as a family, because you're taking that moment to go, oh, where are we at the moment? What does it look like outside? But it's
Yes.
just like something, it's super fun and easy to do, that's not witchy to the point of like stereotypical, but it just shows
Right.
them that it's like quite normal and it's really fun and just like a really beautiful message as well.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
Speaking of, we
Yeah.
are about to go into Yule here. So you guys are obviously going into the summer solstice.
Mhm.
But I know that you are obviously the queen of comfy and cozy,
Oh gosh.
but you also work a lot of magic with your home. So I would love to like pick your brain about what do you do when you're coming into Yule and into winter to kind of like make your home that, you know, how like, I think of winter, it's like it's all about home magic. It's all about making
Yeah,
that space
absolutely.
as sacred and magical as possible because you're not really going outside as much. So what do you do coming up to that time of year?
Well, it's so funny because you just said not going outside as much. A big thing that I like to do is bring the outside in
Mm-hmm.
as much as possible.
Yeah.
And we have an abundance where I live because we're near the Pocono Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
So there are, woods and so many forests. And what I will do is find trees that have naturally shed, like their pine, and
Mm,
I'll bring them into my home to
mm,
create like centerpieces, to create the garland on the windowsill, in my room, in
beautiful.
my sacred space. So, and finding pine cones, like those are things that I can do and I do with my family,
Yeah.
while we're on a hike. Like, oh, we're going to take this back. And sometimes my husband, he kind of rolls his eyes like, oh my God, we're bringing more. Make
Another
sure there's
tree.
no like creatures living in this stuff. Doing this. Um,
Where you're
and
actually hoping there are creatures in there.
maybe in this big bunch, maybe there's a fox hiding, a little baby
One
fox.
day.
Wouldn't that be great? But I do like to bring the outside in. And we do that all year long, but especially in winter because we're not out as much. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
say we're not, but I am. I'm out every day. I'm walking the dogs and I try to get out anyway. Um, obviously I change over the decor and my altar to
Mm-hmm.
go along with the season. And then in the living room, I color is really big to me, like big for me, and colors associated with different Sabbats and feelings that they evoke within me.
Yeah.
Does that
Yeah.
and so for me, bringing in the greens and a lot of green and the red and a lot of brown, like brown
Yeah.
during the winter, like that's very comforting to me. We
Mm-hmm.
have our hearth, we have our fireplace, like that is lit almost all the time. And on milder days where it's not like frigid, we do try to have fires outside.
Beautiful.
Um,
I love winter fires outside.
winter fires and because you can bundle up. Oh,
Yeah.
it's so cute. But leading up to Yule season, I do another huge cleaning
Mm-hmm.
in my house, like just in preparation of hibernation,
Yeah.
because I don't want to be in a space that is too cluttered, because then I
Mm,
can't really enjoy. I can't go inward if like I'm thinking about, oh, I got to do this. I need to do it.
totally.
So another big like cleaning, a big cleansing
Mm-hmm.
in preparation. And then just talking about winter magic with my son.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so, I don't know, I use the word comfy cozy a lot, but
It is though.
comforting. And there are some really great, I don't have it. I'd have to like look in my cabinets, but there's this one book. Oh, what is it called? It's not The Magical Year. It's a pagan children's. It's like this
Mm.
thick, and it goes through the wheel of the year, and it has all sorts of like fun children's activities for Yule. And there's
Cool.
a song. So I'll play like on the keyboard because it gives you just like the notes. Like
That
you can
is
have
so cool.
and yeah, so we'll sing. There's always a story that goes along with it, folklore.
Ah.
Oh, I gotta find that book. I don't want to like get up
You'll have
again,
to send it through because I would
but
love to
I'll
have
send it.
something like that for my kids.
It's amazing. And what is it called? I can see the book. I think it's in that cabinet right there. But I'll send you a picture.
Yes, please do.
You really would love that. Yeah.
Cool. Um,
Oh, and
yeah.
lots of candles.
Oh, you
A
gotta
lot of
have candles.
gotta have candles.
You gotta,
And
it's
that's
not winter without candles.
cliche witchiness, but like lots of candles.
Yes. That's like one of my favorite things about winter. Like I'm not really a winter person. I can probably do, which is weird because my birthday's in winter. So I think once I get past that, I'm like, I'm over it now. But I think when you like set it up, because a lot of people get that like seasonal depression of like, I'm so over being this cold and dark and all this, all that. But I think if you have your home set up where it is that like the beautiful candles with the earthy colors and all of that, it just kind of like helps you coast through until you do get to the spring by just like putting that extra effort in. It's worth it, 100% worth it.
Does. And embracing being present with the season, not, oh gosh, like, oh, I can't wait for it to be over.
Yeah, don't
Oh,
fight it.
another day of snow. Like it's here. There's nothing we can do. There is snow everywhere. So let's gather some snow. Let's do a little bit of snow magic.
Yeah.
Let's bring the white in now. Let's decorate. So then I ended up changing up my windowsill in here again this past year. So like I had the white, like fluffy thing with these silver and gold like animals and
Cool.
trees. We need to make the most of it
I
because it's
agree.
here. It's here. We can't
And it
be
doesn't
thinking
care if you
about
complain.
no. Oh, it does. I feel like sometimes just to spite you, it'll snow even more,
Oh, long winter. Okay.
Yep. Check. The
Now,
groundhog will see the shadow.
so you said that you work with the Fae, which I love. I would love to know, what was your journey into like starting to work with them? How did that start?
Well, it probably started that's one of my more recent venturings
Mm-hmm.
in my practice. So I would say probably 6 or 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it started just from, I think I picked up another one. It wasn't Fey Magic Lucy Cavendish, but it was another book of hers. I feel like where she mentioned, do you know what? It wasn't
I
Fey
know it.
Magic,
I know
but
it.
you know what I'm talking about, where
Yeah.
she talked about mermaids. It was just all like magical creatures. And I had a very like strong calling
Yeah.
to, oh my gosh, like just a knowing like, oh, I need to look more into this. I
Mm-hmm.
need to start reading more. So then I started grabbing more and more books about the Fae and being receptive and open to their messages
Yeah.
or to their um signs.
Yeah.
And I think from there, I started to recognize them more, see them more. And then when I started working with a lot of fairy decks,
Yeah.
that's what really helped me connect.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was through a reading about 6, 7 years ago where I realized, oh, the Fae want to work with me when it comes to my creative projects.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah. And so at that point, I had like a little tiny a fairy altar. I just had an
Mm-hmm.
altar for the Fae. And I remember it was a gold and pink little altar clock. It was literally like 12 by 12 inches. It was
Mm-hmm.
tiny. And I had an amethyst, an aura quartz. What else did I have on there? I can't remember what all was on there, but I remember that I would sit there after my morning ritual. Then I would move to my Fae altar and every morning pull a card about my writing. And
Interesting.
so, yeah, so my work with the fave is very much inspiration for my writing.
I
And
love
then,
that.
yeah, and that's because that's what they wanted to work with me in that area. And then I went probably 5 years ago to a spiritual fair, which
Mhm.
I go to a couple a year. Actually, I was just at one on Saturday. There was the
Ah,
Alamo
fun.
Spiritual Fair. And I actually met up with my friend Jen, who is the one who gave me a reading years ago, well, 5
Ah.
years. And I walked into like her booth, and this is the first I ever met her. I
Mhm.
never knew this woman before. I walked into her booth and she was like, "Whoa." And I'm like, "Hi." She was like, "You have so many, like, so much Fae energy, and you have multiple, like, Fae around you." And she
Cool.
said, "You have a creative career." And I was like, "I'm an author." And she was like, "Oh, well, that makes sense." And that is when it really, like, all was like it clicked. Okay, I need to keep working with them.
Yeah.
I've been working with them for my creativity, but now like this is what I have to work with them. And I just saw her again this weekend. So now we recognize each other and we've become friends,
Cool.
over the years. But that was my first encounter with her. And she was like, "Whoa," and talked about all the theory.
Wow.
Um, so I work with them for my creativity, but now it's turned into my garden as well
Oh,
because
yeah.
all Fae as keepers and protectors of our land.
Mhm.
And so I have a separate garden space just for them. We talk about like the little kid fairy garden. Mine's more of an adult. Put out my honey and I put out like
Yeah.
offerings for them. But there's a corner and I'll show you that too. You have to remind me.
Send
Like
all the pictures.
I'll send it. It's in my I call it my English garden because half of my beds are just wild flowers that are just beautiful.
Yes.
And I can like
Yes.
walk through them. But in the corner I have the offerings for them and I work with them anytime I'm working with like land spirits
Mhm.
and doing offerings for the land. I always have offerings for my fae friends as well. Yeah. So
Beautiful.
that was a lot. Sorry again,
No, no, no.
tangent.
That's
I'm
perfect.
thinking I didn't think about that, like, moments where it was like, "Oh, I need to be working with them here. Oh, and then this confirmed it." And then there was yeah.
Well, I guess it's like the more you establish that relationship with them, it's like at first they go, all right, we're going to start working with you on this. And then you like work with them for a while and they go, okay, and now we're going to branch out over here. And then before you know it, it's like covering so many areas of your life.
Yes, yes, I agree. And especially for me this time of year.
Yeah.
I mean, you going into Yule.
I actually really
Your
feel a lot of Fae energy at Yule, but it's like a
I'm
different
sure.
one. It's almost like Beltane time is like very energetic and light. Like they're the like cheeky ones, where I
Yes.
feel like Yule is like those like the wise like dryads that are like full of like
Yes.
wisdom and they're very calming. And I feel like that's the energy you get now where Beltane's like, yeah, let's cause
Vibrant.
chaos.
Yeah, chaos, vibrant. Well, it's funny because we've talked to my oh my gosh, there's a deer that is
Stop.
going down the retention pond as we're talking right now.
I love deer.
It's behind the house now, but I just like looked up and I saw it go.
Oh,
It went
stop.
yep down the retention pond. There's a big like there's 5 acres behind the house across the
Yeah.
street. They have the big retention pond. You know what those are? Where I don't know, terminology that you might
Yeah.
have. And it just went through because it's dry right now, and it just like went and
Oh,
it went down. So I hope there's a road over here. I hope it doesn't try to cross
they're
the
so
the
beautiful. I love deer.
so oh they're so beautiful. Sorry, I don't even know what I was saying or what, but I got so
Um,
excited. So sorry.
I
Oh,
don't even know either.
Fae energy at different times of the year. I'm trying to think.
I don't
Well,
know.
you probably so your work now too, and I should have mentioned this earlier. when you asked about like in preparation for Yule, that
Yeah.
is the time where I do work a lot with my ancestors.
Yeah. Well, they're around now.
They're around. Oh, now I know what I was going to say. My son, um, I told him, years ago, I said, you need to keep your room clean or the brownies are going to come and they're
Yes.
going to start like hiding things. And so when he can't find things now, he'll say, oh, I think a brownie, a brownie.
Leave an offering out, clean up something.
You better clean that room.
Brownies are no joke, man. Like the amount of stuff that goes missing, I feel like out of their enjoyment is insane in this house.
Absolutely. And then when you do something right,
it was there the whole time.
And it's literally right in front of you. Like
I know.
It's there the whole time.
And you've been going mental, like going, I swear I've seen it. And then you're like, I told you it was right there.
And how can you deny? Like it's moments like those where how can you deny?
I know. And I love those moments, as infuriating as it is to be in it. You're like, good. That's another great confirmation. Thank you.
Have you ever said anything like I want this to appear. I just need it to appear. Like in frustration, and boom, you turn a corner and there it is. I love those magical moments.
I know I've definitely had ones where I knew that it was like they'd taken something, and I think it was like out of like pure frustration. I was like, okay, I get it. All right. I think I was going to do an ultra or something for them, and then I didn't. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry. All right. I will do it. I promise. And then I did it, and then it was there, and I'm like, all right, I learned my lesson.
Yes.
Did you notice a difference in your writing from when you, like before you worked with them to when you did start? Did you notice a shift or anything?
Absolutely. Yes. And what's interesting is the shift before. Okay, I had book deals, but I had really struggled. I met deadlines, but I had really struggled to get there.
Yeah.
And now I feel like working with them, there's more, I don't know how to say it. There's more flexibility. There's more like I'm not as hard on myself with my writing.
Yeah.
And I must get these words written. And not that I rely on them, because I don't, because it's all me.
Yeah.
But I'm more lenient with myself. I'm not as hard, and I don't criticize my work as much. I don't know if maybe they've helped me be more accepting.
Possibly, yeah.
More accepting. But I have noticed when I started working with them, I have been more productive though. Like boom, boom, boom. I was writing novellas at one point, like sweet romance novellas.
Yeah.
I was whipping them out like one every couple of months. Boom, boom, boom. Getting it ready, sent to the editor, polished, and then out there in the world for people. And then when I started writing my books on witchcraft, because I always wrote fiction.
Yeah.
And only recently, the last 4 years, I still write fiction, but have I shifted to the magical nonfiction world?
Yeah.
That now I think that they have really helped with my witchy writing. I think that's what they were waiting
they'd
for.
Be all about it.
They were waiting for that, because
like, we'll get there.
I have like this idea and this idea and this idea and this. But again, I'm not beating myself up if I don't stick to this one thing. Like I'm jumping from project to project and not feeling bad about like abandoning one to jump to this one and then coming back to that one, where in the past I would get really like myself. And maybe that's just me changing over the years, but I like to think it's a little bit of magic sprinkled in as well.
Well, it's kind of like you can force yourself to sit and write something for hours and hours, but it probably won't be very good. But if you like go where your intuition is pulling you, but also like your mind and your heart at the time, everything is going to be so much more interesting because you're so inspired to write that or create that in that moment. And yeah, maybe it is all scattered, but they'll eventually all even out, but it'll be all these like moments of like inspiration and creativity rather than like a forced product.
Get my butt in the chair and write.
Yeah, that's boring. No one wants to read that.
Sometimes it has to be done on deadline, but no, you're absolutely right.
And you have just recently come out with a children's book.
Yes, I have.
You got to show it.
Song of the Elements.
Song of the Elements. Now, how did you find going from writing like for adults to children? What was the shift like?
You know, I had written for children before I wrote for adults because my first series was a children's middle grade series. And I had written other picture books that never were sold. Like my agents just couldn't sell them. And I couldn't sell them, which was fine. So really it wasn't too difficult because I've written in that genre for 15 years.
Yep.
But with Song of the Elements, it was different because this was more personal in nature. This was a little pagan picture book that would have been cool to have when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm typically just writing fiction and making up these stories. But to me, some people might see it as fiction, but it's nonfiction.
Yeah. It's for your inner child.
Because and this was me as a child, dirty blonde hair. And that's what I told my publisher and the illustrator, like, I want it to be me as a kid going through the world, collecting pieces of the elements and correspondences of the elements and putting them in my pocket, and bringing them all together for spirit,
Cool.
So this book, oh, and look what page I turned to, the fairies.
Oh, perfect. They're here with us.
And the gazelles and the deer, which is so funny because I saw the deer.
That's so funny.
It's not funny. It's magic. But I was on a writing retreat working on a completely unrelated project. And I was in my little cabin and I started thinking about the seasons. And then I thought about like the elements because I like to work with the elements and the correspondences of the elements. And then suddenly this idea came to me. Oh my gosh, a children's picture book that talks about the 5 elements and the correspondences in a fun, rhyming like verse.
Yep.
And I wrote the manuscript in literally an hour.
Wow.
I sat down, like, it came to me and I'm like, well, first I brainstormed, okay, air, like correspondences, colors, tarot associated with air. And I wrote down, for all of the elements. And then I did spirit at the end. And then I used those keywords and correspondences to come up with the poem that's in this.
I love that.
That first draft I wrote like within an hour or two maybe. And then there was a lot of editing and tweaking, but usually it doesn't come to me like that quickly. And then I saw that Moondust Press was opening to submissions a couple months later. And I was like, oh, well, I have this.
It all aligned.
I didn't know what I was doing with it, but I happened to have this here. Would you like to look at it? And they offered me, to publish it just a couple weeks later.
Do you think, because it came so easily to you, do you think in a way you were kind of like channeling that inner child?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I definitely feel in that moment that I was. And I think because also I was working on an adult project that I needed to come back to that to kind of to balance my writing, to balance myself out because I was working on, on the complete opposite.
That's so cool. And that's why it's good to like chop and change sometimes so you can find that balance. And a really cute book.
I'm not afraid to do that anymore. I know it's so cute. And the illustrations are just so.
Oh, look at that. So beautiful.
Look at her. And that's her little like little bag that she collects things
I
in.
love it. Oh,
Of course.
that page is so nice. See, it's got a lion and a sunflower, and I'm a Leo, and they're my favorite flower.
Well, yeah,
It's meant to
exactly.
be.
This is fire. This is for you. And then
Ah,
you can see how the colors
beautiful.
change. We go into water.
Did you get much say in how it looked?
This is my favorite. How beautiful is this?
Oh, Yule vibes.
I love Earth. So, with the illustrator, you mean? Did
Yeah,
I have my
yeah.
No, which was okay. I think, she really took my words and was able to mold it into this the beautiful
Yeah.
illustration. And I know that there was input with some colors,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and I wanted to differentiate the
Yeah.
elements so you can clearly see you go from air to
Yeah.
fire to water to earth to spirit, and the ethereal spirit, is like the purples, the lavenders, and
Yeah.
so there were little things like I could say, "Oh, I would love to see this," and of course, the girl is me. I said, "I
Has
want
to
her to be,
be
have
you.
to be me. It has to be anyone else because this is me. This look is me."
Mm-hmm.
But that was it. Like Sonia Kalenko is her name. She really took it and she ran with the words and created this like beautiful illustrations.
Did you find it difficult to kind of like let go of that creative control when it came to like what it looked like, or were you just like happy?
No, I was happy. I know my art is in the words. I
Exactly.
Someone else's art is in the illustrations, and they let me do my art and I'm going to let them do their art unless like there's something that is way
Yeah.
off,
Yeah.
like if they start putting flames in the water or something like
We're not on the same like page right now.
yeah, or if they like draw, because you saw there's tarot cards,
Mm.
some swords in like earth, like there were certain things that I needed to just make sure that it did
Yeah.
sync. But the words really helped with that because it goes through herb correspondences and color,
Cool.
animals. So she had a lot of inspiration from the words.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's so
Oh my God.
exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's beautiful. And I'm thrilled to have a picture book out in the world that is as beautiful as this is.
Yeah, definitely. Now we have done the morning, so now we'll go to the end of the day. Do you have an evening ritual that you like to do every day?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, well, I need this
Yeah.
to wind down because my days are very busy and full, and sometimes I just need that decompression. First off, I have my Insight Timer app that I like to
Yes.
listen to every night, and that's
It's the best.
oftentimes I don't even get through the meditation.
No,
Like
hardly ever.
and that's okay. I for probably almost a decade to 9, 10 years, lavender every single night.
Mm-hmm.
Lavender on my feet, lavender in my lotion, but it's ritual. It's not routine.
Mm.
Routine you kind of go through and you do the things because that's just how your brain is programmed.
Yeah.
It's intentional. Like,
Mm.
why am I doing this? Okay, why? And I think about that like a
Mm.
calm, peaceful sleep as I'm like rubbing this all in. It's all about the
Yep.
intentions behind the actions. Um,
Beautiful.
I do that. I oftentimes will look at in my closet. So in the closet in the bedroom, I have an altar set up in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll usually just I have a crystal quartz, and then I have a calcite bowl that
Oh,
has like
beautiful.
various stones. I have like a lot of like aura, the aura dipped quartz
Yep.
in there. Like I'll just kind of touch them before bed every night just to, have that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And in there I have a deck as well. I have a crystal deck that
Mm-hmm.
I've been working with for a while. And I don't pull a card every night, but when I'm not too exhausted, I will do that. Sometimes I'll do that
Beautiful.
in the morning, actually,
Mm-hmm.
too, when I wake up. Sometimes I'll go in there and just pull a card. Today was amethyst, which I love.
Love it.
Yeah, I just grabbed it really quick and I just set it up even before we chatted. But I have that, and I'll do that at night sometimes. And then, as I said, when I get into bed, I listen to that meditation. I thank spirit for the day, and that's it.
And out
That's
you go.
Out I go. Sometimes I will scroll my phone a little bit.
We're all guilty of that.
We all do it. Let's be real. I tell myself I shouldn't, but I do.
We all say that as we're scrolling. Tomorrow night, I'm not going to do this. We'll end with, I've got 5 questions for you. And this is like the speed round, like the really, really important questions.
Oh, gosh. Oh, I'm
Here
nervous.
we go. What is a movie you could watch 1,000 times and never get sick of?
Does it have to be witchy?
No.
Ever After.
Yeah, good movie.
Yeah.
Good movie.
Love it. And Becoming Jane.
Oh, have I seen that?
Jane Austen. Anne Hathaway. Also, Bedknobs and Broomsticks. In fact, we started it again last night.
Cute.
We're watching it right now. Okay.
I love that. What is a book that changed your life?
To Ride a Silver Broomstick.
Yeah.
We're talking about witchy books because that was when I was young, the first one I picked up. Not everything resonated with me. No. The Wiccan lens never resonated with me. But there were a lot of elements that I got out of that book and still, use in my practice today.
Beautiful. If you could sit down with anybody, be dead, alive, famous, not famous, and have a chat, who would it be?
My grandpa.
Oh.
My peeps, yeah. He was my first grandparent to pass away, and he was my favorite person in the whole wide world.
That'd be
and then
beautiful.
if it couldn't be like a family member, it would probably be Shakespeare.
Yeah. He has some cool stories.
Oh, he knew so much witchcraft. The witchcraft and magic that is in his words.
I know.
It is it's amazing.
I know. And you go like Midsummer Night Dream. Hello. Fairies. Yep. He knew stuff, man.
Tanya, Oberon. I mean, like you have.
He knew things.
And look at Macbeth.
Oh,
and
yeah.
to think that it was thought that he consulted with real witches. That's why.
Did he?
Well, that's one thing that is said. We don't know.
You have to tell me when you ask him.
Yeah, I will when we sit down and have a cup of tea.
Now, I think I already know what the answer to this is, but if you could be an animal, any animal for a day, what would it be?
Come on, you can answer that for me.
It's a fox.
Anybody who knows me, who's listened to my podcast, followed my Instagram, is a fox.
Yeah, I thought it might be that. And lastly, what does your perfect day look like?
Oh, this is hard. Well, I would get up, have my me time, have my ritual, but a day of just being outside with no distractions with my family.
Beautiful.
Just going on a nice hike. We've had a couple perfect days, though. We've had a couple perfect days like that. Being with my family, and then when I go to sleep that night, dreaming about my past loved ones. But like all good, all the good things. Yeah.
Beautiful. Good answer. The simple days are the most beautiful days.
I agree. I don't need to fly to a different country. I just want to be with the people I love.
Perfect. That sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Now, where can everybody find you?
Oh my gosh. They can find me mostly on Instagram at Comfy Cozy Witch, through my podcast, the Comfy Cozy Witch podcast, of course. They can email me if they want to, comfycozywitch@gmail.com. I always love getting emails. There is the Comfy Cozy Witches Facebook group. So there
You're everywhere.
Everywhere. Just type in Comfy Cozy Witch and you'll find me.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Jennie, for being here. It was such a pleasure to actually get to chat with you. It feels weird hearing your voice and like you're talking back to me. Usually I'm like just listening to you now in the car or wherever. Now I'm like, oh, yay, she's talking back finally.
I'm so happy that you asked me to be on here. This was a pleasure and I love you.
Thank you so much. And everyone go and listen to her podcast because it's pretty much the best podcast in the world, I have to say. Thank you so much, Jennie.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.